Ethan stood by the window of his dorm room, watching the evening sky change from bright blue to soft shades of orange. The academy was quiet, and most students had gone to dinner. He'd been told earlier that day that a new roommate would arrive. Ethan was not sure what to expect, but he wanted to be polite. He arranged his books neatly, folded his blanket, and cleared the desk so the newcomer would not feel unwelcome. The door opened with a soft sound, and Clara stepped in. She was tall, graceful, and carried herself with calm confidence. Her eyes seemed to study everything in the room as if every detail mattered. She smiled in a small way, almost shy, and set her bag down on the empty bed. "Hi," Ethan said, trying to sound relaxed. "I'm Ethan." Clara nodded and replied, "Clara." Her voice was steady but quiet. She looked around again before placing her jacket on the chair. They stood in silence for a moment, unsure of what to say next. Ethan broke the silence by pointing toward the desk. "You can use this space if you need. I kept it clear for you." "Thank you," Clara said. She touched the desk gently, as if testing its surface. Then she sat down and began to unpack her things. She did not bring much, only a few clothes, a notebook, and a silver pendant that she placed carefully on the nightstand. Ethan watched her from the corner of his eye. Something about her felt unusual. It was not just the way she moved, but also the way she observed him. She seemed curious about everything, even the smallest things. When he offered her a glass of water, she accepted it, but studied the glass before drinking, as if water itself was something worth thinking about. That evening, Ethan went about his usual routine. He read a few pages from his book and then decided to take a shower. Clara sat on her bed, flipping through her notebook, her expression unreadable. Ethan did not pay much attention as he walked into the bathroom. He forgot to lock the door, something he rarely did. The sound of running water filled the small dorm. Ethan felt the warmth wash away the long day. He closed his eyes, enjoying the steam. At that very moment, the door opened quietly. Clara had meant to ask him a question, not realizing he was inside. She stepped in and froze when she saw him. Ethan gasped and turned quickly, reaching for a towel. His face grew hot with embarrassment. Expected Clara to shout or to turn away in shock, but instead she stood still, her eyes fixed on him. Then, slowly, she drew in a breath and licked her lips, as if the sight stirred something deep inside her. Ethan's heart pounded. He pulled the towel tighter and said, "Clara, get out." His voice was louder than he meant it to be. Clara blinked, then stepped back without a word. She closed the door behind her, leaving Ethan stunned. He leaned against the wall, confused and shaken. What kind of reaction was that? Why would she look at him that way? He stayed in the bathroom longer than usual, trying to calm down. When he finally came out, Clara was sitting on her bed again, her face calm, as if nothing had happened. She glanced at him once but said nothing. Ethan sat on his bed, unsure if he should bring it up. Part of him wanted to demand an answer, but another part of him feared what she might say. The room felt heavier, filled with a silence that neither dared to break. That night, Ethan found it hard to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he remembered the way Clara had looked at him. It was not the look of someone embarrassed. It was not the look of someone who made a mistake. It was something else, something he could not explain. He turned on his side and stared at the faint light coming through the window. Clara was lying on her back, her eyes open, watching the ceiling. He wondered if she was thinking about the same moment, but he did not ask. He simply closed his eyes again, hoping tomorrow would bring answers. The first night with his new roommate had already changed everything. Ethan did not know what the days ahead would hold, but he sensed that his life was about to become far more complicated than he ever imagined. The morning sun touched the academy grounds, painting the sky with soft gold. Ethan woke up feeling uneasy. He tried not to think about what had happened the night before, but the memory of Clara's eyes and her strange reaction would not leave his mind. He turned his head slightly to see her bed. Clara was already awake, sitting with her notebook open on her lap. She was writing something with calm focus, as if nothing unusual had ever happened. Ethan sat up slowly, trying to act normal. "Morning," he said. Clara looked up and gave a small nod. "Good morning." Her voice was steady, almost too steady. She closed her notebook and placed it neatly on the desk. They prepared for the day in silence. Ethan brushed his teeth while Clara tied her hair back with careful movements. He wondered if she felt embarrassed, but she did not show it. When they left the dorm together, Ethan felt the weight of unspoken words pressing between them. At the cafeteria, they joined the long line of students waiting for breakfast. Ethan grabbed toast, eggs, and fruit, while Clara stared at the choices as if they were strange objects. She picked up a bowl of cereal, but studied it before pouring the milk. Ethan noticed her hesitation. "Not used to this kind of food?" he asked. Clara shook her head slowly. "It is different." Ethan smiled a little. "You'll get used to it." "God, it's just normal breakfast." She nodded but continued to watch the cereal as if she was trying to understand it. Ethan thought it was unusual, but he let it go. They sat at a table, and soon Megan and Lucas, two of Ethan's friends, joined them. Megan, cheerful as always, leaned forward with interest. "So, you must be Clara. We've heard Ethan got a new roommate." Clara gave a polite smile. "Yes. I am still learning how things work here." Lucas grinned and nudged Ethan. "Well, I bet Ethan will be a good guide. He's a responsible guy." Ethan forced a small laugh, but inside, he felt tense. He hoped his friends would not notice how strange Clara seemed to him. Megan, however, had sharp eyes. She leaned closer and whispered just loud enough for Ethan to hear, "She's pretty." Ethan coughed, embarrassed. "It's not like that." Clara tilted her head slightly, as if she had heard but chose not to respond. She simply ate her cereal slowly, watching the others with quiet interest. Her every move seemed controlled, as though she was careful about how much to reveal. After classes, Ethan walked back to the dorm with Clara. The halls were full of students laughing and chatting, but Clara stayed quiet, her gaze scanning everything around her. Ethan noticed she often looked at people with the same deep focus she had shown him. It was not the look of simple curiosity. It was sharper, almost like she was studying them. That evening, Ethan sat at his desk, trying to finish his assignment. Clara sat across from him, humming softly to herself. The sound was low and strange, not like any song he knew. Ethan tried to ignore it, but it made him uneasy. Finally, he asked, "What's that song?" Clara paused. "It is something I learned long ago." She did not explain further. Ethan nodded, but felt the same confusion rising in him. Clara was always holding back, always leaving pieces of herself hidden. And yet, despite the unease, Ethan found himself drawn to her. He wanted to know more, even if it unsettled him. Later that night, when Ethan lay in bed, he heard Clara whispering softly. Words were low and unclear, but he caught fragments like hunger, control, and weight. He froze, wondering if he had heard right. Clara's voice was steady, but the meaning of the words made his chest tighten. Ethan turned to face the wall, pretending to sleep. He knew something was not normal about her. She was not just another student trying to adjust. She was different in ways he could not yet understand. Still, he did not feel fear alone. Alongside his unease was a strange pull toward her. He wanted to uncover the truth, no matter how unusual it might be. And as sleep finally crept over him, he wondered what secrets the next day would bring. The academy announced a field trip to the nearby research facility, a place where students could see the latest inventions and safety systems. Ethan was excited, though part of him was still distracted by Clara. She walked beside him on the bus, her eyes fixed on the passing landscape. She rarely spoke unless asked, but her silence always carried weight. The group entered the large glass building, guided by staff who explained how machines could heal wounds, clean air, and build new forms of energy. Students whispered with excitement, pointing at the bright displays. Ethan tried to listen, but his attention kept drifting toward Clara. She moved through the rooms as if everything was both familiar and strange. She touched the edges of the machines gently, studying them with quiet care. In one hall, a sudden accident broke the calm. A heavy piece of equipment slipped from its support, falling toward a student who had stepped too close. Screams filled the hall. Ethan froze, but Clara moved faster than anyone else. In a single motion, she rushed forward and grabbed the metal piece with her bare hands. Her strength stopped it before it could crush the student. Gasps filled the room as Clara held the weight with ease, then set it down carefully. The staff hurried over, shocked. The student who had almost been hurt was pale and shaking. "You saved me," he whispered, staring at Clara. Clara only nodded, her face calm. But Ethan saw more than calmness in her eyes. He saw a flicker of something she was trying to hide. The other students cheered, calling her a hero, but Ethan's thoughts raced. No normal person could have done what she did. On the way back, Ethan sat beside her, his voice low. "Clara, how did you do that?" She looked at him, her expression steady. I reacted. "That is all?" "That's not all," Ethan pressed. "You're stronger than anyone I've ever seen. No one can move like that." Clara was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed softly. "You will not stop asking, will you?" Ethan shook his head. "Not until I understand." Clara turned her gaze toward the window. "I am not what you think I am. I came here not only to study, but to observe. My people have watched humans for a long time. We try to learn your ways, your choices, your strength." Ethan stared at her, his heart pounding. "Your people, what do you mean?" Clara's eyes met his. "I was not raised the same way you were. Where I come from, instincts are powerful. When I saw you in the bathroom that night, it triggered something inside me. It was not shame. It was instinct, survival, attraction. I did not plan it." Ethan's breath caught. The memory of her gaze that night returned with sharp clarity. "So you're saying you aren't just like us. I am close," Clara said. "It's close enough to live among you, but not the same. My people choose carefully how much to reveal. Most humans will never know, should not know either, but you asked, and I owe you truth." Ethan felt a storm inside him. Part of him wanted to back away, to put distance between them. But another part leaned closer, drawn to the honesty in her words. "Why me? Why tell me?" Clara looked at him quietly. "Because you saw me, not only with your eyes, but with your questions. You will not let this go. And maybe, I want someone to know me for who I really am." Ethan's hands tightened on his knees. The bus rolled on, carrying students who laughed and talked, as if nothing unusual had happened. Only he and Clara sat in silence, holding a secret that no one else would believe. That night, Ethan could not sleep. Clara lay on her bed, her silver pendant glowing faintly in the moonlight. He kept replaying her words, her strength, and her confession. The world felt larger and more dangerous than before, but also more full of mystery. He knew his life was now tied to Clara's secret, whether he was ready for it or not. Days passed after Clara's secret was revealed to Ethan, and the weight of it pressed on him more with each moment. He carried her truth quietly, speaking to no one, though his thoughts never stopped turning. Every time he looked at her, he saw not only his roommate, but someone who stood on the edge of two worlds. Clara, however, behaved as if nothing had changed. She attended classes, ate with him in the cafeteria, and sat in the dorm, humming those quiet tunes at night. Yet in her eyes, Ethan sometimes caught a flicker of unease, as if she was waiting for something. One afternoon, Ethan and Clara sat on the grass outside the academy, watching students play a game nearby. Clara tilted her head as if trying to understand their laughter. "You humans choose joy, even in small things," she said softly. Ethan looked at her. "It's what makes life worth living. You don't do that where you come from?" Clara shook her head. "We are taught discipline, not games. We study, we train, we endure. Joy is rare." Ethan frowned. "That sounds empty. Don't you ever want more?" Clara's eyes softened. "That is why I am here." The moment stretched between them until the sound of sirens broke it apart. Students turned their heads as academy officials rushed into the courtyard. Uniformed guards followed, their boots heavy against the ground. A teacher shouted for everyone to stay calm. Ethan felt Clara stiffen beside him. The head of the guard stepped forward, his voice sharp. "We are here to investigate reports of unusual activity among the students. There may be someone hiding something dangerous." The crowd buzzed with confusion and fear. Ethan's stomach tightened. He glanced at Clara, whose expression was carefully blank. But he could feel her tension. That evening, notices were posted around the dorms. Officials would inspect rooms and question students. Whispers filled the halls. Some said a spy was among them. Others said a dangerous experiment had gone wrong. Ethan knew the truth was closer to him than anyone could guess. In their dorm room, Clara stood by the window, staring at the dark campus. Ethan placed his books down and walked to her side. "They're looking for you, aren't they?"
Act!
Clara's lips pressed together before she answered. "Yes, they suspect. My presence is not fully hidden anymore." Ethan's chest tightened. "What will they do if they find out?" "They will take me," Clara said. "I will not be seen again." Silence filled the room. Ethan thought of the day she saved that student, of her honesty on the bus, of the way she struggled between instinct and choice. He thought of the trust she had placed in him. His hands curled into fists. "No," he said firmly. "I won't let that happen." Clara turned to him, her eyes shining faintly in the dim light. "You would risk yourself," Ethan met her gaze. "You trusted me with the truth. I can't turn my back on you now." The following days were filled with tension. Guards moved through the halls, opening doors, searching rooms, asking sharp questions. Students grew nervous, their laughter fading into whispers. Ethan stayed close to Clara, guiding her away from unwanted attention. But the danger grew sharper with every inspection. One night, as rain tapped against the windows, Clara spoke softly from her bed. "I do not understand you, Ethan. You should be afraid of me. Yet you protect me." Ethan turned toward her. "I am afraid, but I also see you for who you are, not just what you're hiding." Clara was quiet for a long time, then whispered, "Where I come from, trust is rare. It is traded like power. You give it freely." "Because it matters," Ethan said. "'Cause without it, we have nothing." The next morning, the guards announced final inspections. Rumors spread that they had narrowed their search. Ethan felt the storm building. He knew the time for choice was coming. Either he would protect Clara fully, or he would watch her be taken away. And deep inside, he already knew what he would do. The morning of the final inspection arrived, heavy with silence. Students gathered in the hall as the guards prepared to search each dorm. The sound of boots and orders echoed down the corridors. Ethan's heart raced as he sat on his bed, knowing they would soon come to their room. Clara stood near the desk, her silver pendant in her hand. She looked calm, but Ethan could see the stillness of someone ready for the worst. The knock came. The door opened, and two guards entered with stern faces. Behind them was an official in a dark coat carrying a clipboard. He scanned the room, his eyes sharp. "Names," he demanded. "Ethan Miller," Ethan said quickly. "Clara Brooks," Clara answered without hesitation. The official stepped inside, glancing at their belongings. He opened drawers, checked under the beds, and examined the desk. His voice was cold. "We have reports of someone with unusual abilities. Do either of you know anything about this?" Ethan felt Clara's eyes on him, though she said nothing. The silence stretched. Ethan's chest tightened. He could lie, stay safe, and let them take her. Or he could speak and risk everything. He remembered the moment she had saved that student, the quiet words she had shared with him, the trust she had placed in him. Ethan stood. "I know what you're looking for, and I know Clara is not dangerous. She saved someone's life. She's not a threat to us." The official turned sharply. "So you admit she is the one?" Ethan's fists clenched. "I admit she's my friend, and if you take her, you'll be making a mistake. She belongs here as much as the rest of us." The guards shifted uneasily, surprised by Ethan's boldness. Clara remained still, her eyes wide but filled with something more than fear. It was trust. The official narrowed his eyes. "Why defend her?" "What is she to you?" Ethan took a breath. "She is someone who chose to be honest with me when she didn't have to. She is someone who has more courage than anyone I know. If you call that dangerous, then maybe you don't understand what danger really is." The room grew tense. The guards looked at one another, waiting for orders. Finally, the official snapped his clipboard shut. "We will be watching both of you. One mistake, and we return. Do not forget that." He turned and left, the guards following him out. The door closed, leaving behind a silence heavier than before. Ethan sat back down, his legs weak. Clara placed the pendant on the desk and looked at him with quiet amazement. "You risked yourself," she said softly. Ethan met her gaze. "I wasn't going to let them take you." For the first time since they had met, Clara's calm mask broke. She smiled. Not a small, polite smile, but a true one, filled with warmth. "Where I come from, loyalty is rare. But you gave it freely." That night, Ethan and Clara climbed to the rooftop of the dorm. The sky stretched wide above them, stars glowing in endless patterns. The cool air brushed against their faces. They sat side by side, their shoulders almost touching. Ethan pointed upward. "See that cluster? My dad used to say it looked like a crown." Clara tilted her head. "A crown for a queen." Ethan laughed quietly. maybe. But out here, it belongs to everyone. Clara's eyes lingered on the stars. I have seen many skies, but this one feels different. Maybe because I am not alone. Ethan turned to her. You'll never be alone here. Not as long as I'm around. She looked at him, her expression gentle but strong. Oh. Then maybe I have found more than I expected. Maybe I have found a place where I belong. The night was silent except for the faint hum of the city below. They did not speak again, but the bond between them was clear. It was not built on secrets or fear, but on choice and trust. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Ethan leaned back, staring at the sky. For the first time in weeks, he felt peace. Clara sat beside him, her presence steady and certain. In the vastness of the universe, two people had chosen each other. And that choice, Ethan knew, could change everything.